Hallelujah. All right, thank you. As the provider of the seed that was responsible for your rebirth. Look at this. Usually, when a woman gives birth in the hospital, they say, where is the father? Or where is the man? If there's no father, they say, who is responsible for this? And someone else will come, maybe the pastor, or there has to be someone usually. Well, I didn't participate, but I've come and said, my own is purely responsibility. Are we together? So, when you get born again, God says, I have come into this life officially. Are we together now? I am the provider of the seed that has caused this species of being. And that anytime you need the attention of the father of this child, refer to me. This is what it means to be born again. Listen, 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 listen. The man who had an epileptic spirit, who took responsibility for his healing, the father came to Jesus and said, please, can you do something about my child? The Bible does not tell us the boy was deaf and dumb. We just know that the guy was epileptic. I thought that he would contribute in that advocacy. Please help me too. And he kept quiet. Maybe he was deaf and dumb. The Bible does not record that, except that Jesus casted a deaf and dumb spirit out of him. But the father took responsibility. Have you heard about another one called the centurion, who began to advocate for his child? So when we say you are born of God, that means every time there is a life or Satan or situations demands, who backs you? Who is the father paying your school fees? Who is responsible? Whose name should we write after your own? And God says, he is born of God. Born of God. Born of God. I have the honor and the privilege of helping a lot of people, and we provide scholarships for a lot of children. And some of those children, because of their background, they've never known their father. If you ask them, who is your father? They will tell you with confidence. Sometimes I even get afraid. I say, don't get used to that name, because my own is responsibility that brought me there. Little girl, who is your father? The name of my father is Apostle Joshua Selman. And then when they are watching me, they shout, Daddy. And I have to take responsibility. Because with respect to their care, they were born of. Are we together now? So when we say you are born again, number one, we mean you are born of God. There is a translation, a switch of fatherhood. Are we together now? The reason why the prodigal son prospered initially was not necessarily a product of his creativity or intelligence. It was the house he came from. His possibility was a product of the house he came from. His pain was the house he left. His restoration was the house he came back to. Are we together? So everything around the life of the prodigal son was with respect to his father. Someone say, I am born of God. Oh, my physical father may be dead, but I'm born of God. I am not an orphan. I walk in that consciousness. There is someone defending my interest. I'm not as weak as you think I am. You wait till you see my father. The jealousy of the one who backs me in life and in ministry. Shout, I am born of God. Say it again, I am born of God. You may say, I don't have a space in life. You are right. Until you find out who brought the idea of the space. Hallelujah. I was told about a man who was a billionaire. He came into a company and they never knew he was the owner because someone was fronting for him. And he wanted his child to have a job. And the people were making life miserable for the boy, asking him useless questions in spite of the fact that he was qualified. And eventually the boy got angry and said, I may not be qualified by your terms, but I'm coming. And the next time they saw him coming with a man very frail, and they now shouted at the man too. He said, did they give you any orientation in this company that the one you call MD is just MD, not owner? And then they kept shouting, and in one moment he took a pen. From the MD to every other person, he sacked them and said, just to let you know, I own this facility. So when you see God quiet on your case, it's not weakness. There are moments where the devil stretches his pride through men, and then your father decides to arise and say, I need to make a statement that although Jacob is as a worm, weak and frail, there is a God that stands behind him. Listen, let me tell you, the weakness in many believers is because they do not understand that being born again, they know being born again is having the life of God, but they are not aware of who the Father is. It's my Father. Yes, sir. The creator of the universe is my Father. You can call him CEO, you are right, but allow me call him Father. His seed birthed me. Are we together now? You can look down on me based on tribal or regional sentiments, but let me remind you that I came from above. My rebirth translocated me, came from above. Listen, I'm not just teaching you theology. I tell you sincerely, this is my mentality. I don't enter a land, I enter a land respecting the systems, but I know I'm not at the mercy of the system. No, no. When you bring that one now, I now begin to speak like the Hebrew boys. I am not careful to speak on this matter. Are we together? The earth is the Lord's. Good news. The resources in it. Good news. Don't laugh at me too long. You will spend your life saying, I'm sorry. God is my Father. The word Father is the word Abba, is the word Patah, source, sustainer, defender, provider. Someone say that after me. Source, sustainer, defender. One more time, say source, sustainer, defender, provider. One last time, say source, sustainer, defender, provider. He said, when I sent you to that banking sector, sent you to that ministry, you are born of God. The Creator defends you. His jealousy defends you. Whether or not you are aware, no wonder the psalmist said, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Born of God, born of God, born of God, born of God. The invisible God has invested his fatherhood upon my life. It is adoption, but I'm still a son. Born. For as long as the prodigal son was in that house, conscious of his father, there was no lack. Are we together now? Depletion began the day he chose to take responsibility over his life. But one thing the boy never lost, sir. He lost money. He lost friends. But he did not lose the consciousness that he was born of his father. And he said, I've lost everything. What do I have to restore me? I will arise and go to my Father, my source, my provider, my defender. Say, I'm born of God.